Hi, I'm Norm Macdonald, and now the fake news. Our top story tonight. In an emotional press conference this week, Bob Dole announced that he was resigning from the U.S. Senate, where he had served for nearly 3 decades. Dole said he regretted leaving the Senate, but needed to focus all his energies on a goal many had once thought impossible: getting Bill Clinton reelected. Following his poor finish in the Iowa caucuses, Texas Senator Phil Gramm has withdrawn from the presidential race and will soon announce his full backing and support for first-place finisher Bob Dole. In response, Dole said, "I am screwed." Six of one, half dozen of another. During an interview 2 weeks ago, Bob Dole said to a reporter, quote, "Whoever wins in New Hampshire will probably be the Republican nominee." When approached by the reporter for a quote following his stunning loss Tuesday, Dole locked himself in his campaign bus and pretended to be asleep. Speaking in Florida earlier this week, Bob Dole launched his harshest attack yet on President Clinton, accusing him of a, quote, naked failure of leadership and moral confusion in the fight against drugs. In response, President Clinton said, "Everything you say is true, but hey, guess what? I'm still going to win." In less than 24 hours, the first presidential debate of the campaign will be underway. And today, both candidates were at Hartford's Bushnell Auditorium for some last-minute fine-tuning. President Clinton is still deciding which themes to emphasize in his opening remarks, while Bob Dole is deciding whether to pull the fire alarm or phone in a bomb threat. According to a new CNN poll, Republican candidate Bob Dole now trails President Clinton by 15 points. A Dole campaign spokesman says that despite these numbers, it is still possible for them to reach their ultimate goal, to lose by 7 points. Meanwhile, Bob Dole brought his struggling presidential campaign to New Jersey, vowing, in his words, to prove Yogi Berra was right when he said, "It ain't over till it's over." Reached for comment, Yogi Berra said, "It's over." This week, presidential candidate Bob Dole sent his top campaign aide to Dallas in an effort to convince Ross Perot to drop out of the race and endorse the Dole ticket. Emerging from the 2-hour meeting with Perot, the aide announced, "I'm voting for Ross Perot." At a campaign stop in Florida Thursday, a frustrated Bob Dole told a reporter, quote, "Something's wrong with America. I wonder sometimes what people are thinking about, if people are thinking at all." At which point the reporter said, "Can you repeat that? I was thinking about how I'm voting for Bill Clinton, and I missed that last part." Yesterday, in a dramatic finish to his White House bid, Bob Dole began a 96-hour, 15-state, non-stop campaign tour that will take him right through to Election Day. Political experts are calling the grueling marathon a, quote, last-ditch effort, while medical experts are calling it, quote, a suicide attempt. In an interview this week, Bob Dole said he is strong enough to handle the pain of losing the presidential election, although he did admit that the shock of winning would give him a giant heart attack. At a rally in California this week, Dole urged voters to ignore polls which have him trailing President Clinton by double digits. In addition, Dole asked them to ignore newspaper headlines next Wednesday that say, "Dole loses in landslide." Embattled House Speaker Newt Gingrich may finally have solved his financial troubles. On Thursday, Gingrich announced that former Senator Bob Dole has loaned him the $300,000 needed to pay his ethics committee fine. And today, more good news for Gingrich. Dole has already forgotten he loaned him the money. This week, after 50 hours of failed budget talks with Bill Clinton, a frustrated Bob Dole said, quote, "We ought to have a new president," and added, "and he should be a really, really old guy."
Yeah, I know. You've had your fun now, Norm. You're out of work.
Well, I thought I'd just do a joke about you. I had a little
Yeah, what
joke.
you've been doing, those, I've been missing a lot of them, but your fun's over, the election's over. Unless there's a recount, you're out of work.
Oh, no. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Maybe we can go have a beer or something. How'd that be?
You're all right with me.
All right. Bob Dole, everybody. Good night, folks. Hi, I'm Bob Dole. And pipe down, you damn hoodlum. Well, it's great to be here at Woodstock. As you know, Bob Dole's reaching out to the youth of America, and sitting here in the audience, I've had the privilege of meeting quite a few of you young people tonight. I learned something very important about the youth of America. I don't like you. A lot of you can go to hell. Well, regardless, I'm here to talk about the MTV Viewer's Choice Award. Pick up the phone and cast your vote for the best video. Remember, vote for Bob Dole in November. Bob Dole's the candidate who gives you free cigarettes. That's right, free cigarettes. There you go. There, smoke them if you got them, you damn dirty hippies. There, free cigarettes. Dole in 96. Peace out.
These broken pieces I hold in my hands don't have a chance to mend at all. Before they get thrown into chaos again, I try to pretend I'm whole enough to stand in this world so unsteady, to witness the heartache of many. But how long until we...
There's no chance of you running for president again?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, really? Because, you know, it'd be good for me. Kind of help you keep you on the front pages, you know?
Now, believe me, Norm, running for president doesn't always keep you in the front pages unless you, of course, take a dive off a podium.
Yeah, that did get a lot of coverage, didn't it?
Yeah, and thanks for noticing here on Saturday Night Live. I appreciate it.
I don't write a lot of this stuff.
I do either, yeah.
The greatest offense of all. I didn't write it. Was it fun working with him? Was it exciting?
Oh, yeah, because he's my hero. He's been my hero for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and, you know, to meet your hero. Do you have a hero?
Norman Fell from Three's Company.
That's your hero?
Yeah. Mr. Roper. Yeah.
I know, Mr. Roper?
Yeah.
That's not a good hero.
That's all I got.
Better than this guy's hero is some gay porn actor. Anyway.
What are you talking about? What?
I don't know.
Insane.
No.
What are you saying?
Let me tell you something about gay porn.
What?
Seriously.
It's fine.
That was a long one. Okay. No, I'll tell you something about gay porn. Seriously.
Okay.
That doesn't mean a guy's gay. I'm not saying that. Because a guy watches gay porn all the time.
Cut to a single. Just of Norm, really?
Gay porn. I enjoy gay porn. I'm not gay. Gay porn is a genre that just cuts across all demographics. You know? Young people, old people, straight people, the gay people enjoy it. Everybody likes gay porn. But this guy really likes it. No, I don't know. I'm sorry.
I heard patriotic music playing behind that speech.
No, that's not what I meant to say. I meant to talk about Bob Dole. This guy's my hero.
First ruined my reputation, you know.
I'll
Just
tell you
in
something.
passing.
This guy is not gay. If anybody's not gay, it's this guy.
Oh, I'm so...
Seriously.
I am so totally straight. Oh, yeah.
No, you are.
I love the ladies.
No, he does. No, he likes girls. He likes girls.
Does this happen every time you try and talk about Bob Dole? You start talking about gay porn.
I know, I don't know what that was. But listen, the Bob Dole, I love this guy. He's my hero. He's always been my hero for like the last 18 years since I was very young. And I always liked Bob Dole. And so it was an honor to... Now it sounds weird because I was talking about gay porn. But
I'm questioning your ability to continue here.
Yeah.
After but go ahead.
You know what he did? He gave me his purple heart. He has two purple hearts, you know. And so when we were doing it, he put a purple heart on my lapel because he had one on his lapel.
Oh,
so it was very moving,
that's
you know,
cool.
to have Bob Dole.
Were you going to say Michael Jackson again?
Yeah, Bob. Why do you have to point everything out? Nobody heard.
I heard you. You heard me, right?
They're gonna,
like you're just having a conversation and they're all like doing tax work. Well, they're sort of paying attention. You know? There's a third of the audience that is doing other stuff, but for us,
he gave me a Purple Heart.
You're gonna try and continue this joke? All right.
It's not a joke. It was a very moving thing. It was one of the most moving things that ever happened to me.
I'm sorry.
I got a Purple Heart, and I was standing there with Bob Dole beside me in this Purple Heart, and, you know, it was just a very moving thing because, you know, I don't know. You don't have, you know.
That's cool. I would think that would be a moving thing.
Yeah, it was very moving because you think of how he got the Purple Heart, you know, and you know, he took it.
He's being serious now.
I'm being serious. It was a very moving thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. All right.
I'm not very good with the stories about the moving things.
You know who did Jackie Gleason?
Brad Garrett.
Brad Garrett played Jackie Gleason.
How did that happen? A super tall guy, but he did it. He was great.
Jackie Gleason, yeah, the tall years or something. I don't know.
I shined up your bowling shoes for you, too. Are you comfy, sweetums? Oh, and by the way...
Aha! Aha! By the way, huh? All right, what's by the way?
I just saw Brad yesterday.
Brad, you were just inducted into the Television Hall of Fame of the National Association for Broadcasting.
Broadcasters Hall of Fame.
Brad Garrett seemed like a long shot. I remember like him because he was so crazy tall. You'd see him at the Improv and you go, how could he be cast in anything?
Well, he wasn't, you know, we wrote the show based on my life, so it was based on my brother in real life, who really was a cop, a New York City cop, but he was like 5'10", and he had this kind of bitterness, but he, nothing like Brad brought into it.
This is Robert, Ray's brother. Ray's brother?
Listen, Deborah, once again, it's that time of year where I have to ask you to look deep into your hearts and pockets to pledge your continued support for those of us who risk our lives for you.
Yeah, sure, Robert. How much?
Let me finish. The $20 pledge enables us to upgrade our equipment, fund our community outreach program, and provide our canine division with crunchy treats. Thank you.
No, Brad, they were casting, you know, I was in New York, and they would keep telling me who they think is up for it, and then they said, we found a good choice for the brother, Brad Garrett, and I said, you know, because all I knew him was from Star Search. And he won the first year of Star Search, so I knew of him, and I knew he was this giant...
impressionist.
Yeah. I said, what?
From Hollywood, it's the world's greatest talent competition. It's Star Search with your host, Ed McMahon. From Los Angeles, Brad Garrett.
And Stu Smiley from HBO said he did this unique take on it, and I saw it, and it was a lucky. That's what it is. We didn't write that. That wasn't on the page. That persona. And he brought that in.
Does he live in Las Vegas?
No, but he has a place there because he has that club.
I saw him there.
Where's it, the Rio?
He's almost like Rickles now.
Oh yeah, and he's got like a very young girlfriend. She was 25 when they met, and she's.
My girlfriend is quite a bit younger than me. You know the drill. And we were at a restaurant, and she's young, but she's, you know, she's growing. I mean, she's, you know, she's blossoming. This is her summer. And Rickles walks up to the table and looks at her and looks at me and goes, 12? She's 12? And then he says, have you been kidnapped, darling? Have you been kidnapped? Blink if you've been kidnapped. That was a funny encounter.
I feel like you and me, we couldn't be with a young girl. We'd feel too old. And then there's other guys that like young girls. Like,
well, it's the same theory as Vegas. You just get in and get out. I wouldn't want to stick around. But,
there's a passing resemblance, no question. So anyway, when you're in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, the oddest slogan I've ever heard. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, they say. Of course, it's not true. You can't kill a person and leave. They'll follow you across state lines and bring you back, and you'll face a jury of your peers. So I said, what does that mean? What does it mean? Like, what are they getting at, you know? I started ruminating about it. I whittled. I started whittling.
Oh, you whittle?
Yeah, when I ruminate, I whittle.
Whittle and ruminate.
Yeah, I whittle.
Hand in hand.
And I said, what does that actually mean? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? And it came to me in a sudden. What it means is you can have sex with a prostitute in Las Vegas and she will not tell your wife. They're very discreet in Vegas. They're not like these gossipy small town whores. You know. These blabbermouths down at the beauty parlor with that pale blue thing over their head, whatever that is, go, you're Hank Johnson's husband? By God, I had sex in exchange for cash last night with him. Small world.
Yeah, in exchange for cash. Now, Norm...
I know it's time to close my eyes to old ends, open up to new friends, leave my heart in Berlin, where the tables turning, seeking up a new vibe, running streets at midnight, cities never sleeping. I am in Berlin, Berlin.
But Brad, you know, she's great, and Brad's the first one to tell you. He'll joke about it, you know. He says every time she leaves the house, I got to put out an Amber Alert, you know. Yeah. And her father was there. She was there this weekend. Her father's younger than us. Her father's
oh
younger.
my God. This guy's young, but
I'm
35.
35,
yeah. Okay. That seems young now to me.
Norm and I were hanging out in his office one day playing a game where he had words and you had to do an impression of somebody saying the same sentence. And he did Burt Reynolds doing it, and we go, oh, well, there we go. So how can we get Burt Reynolds on TV?
And then one time I was talking to Burt Reynolds, and he said he wanted to come on the show while I was doing Celebrity Jeopardy, and then punch me in the face and take over, and then he'd be even stupider. But then I got fired, so he couldn't do it.
Oh, okay. The sketch that you got on the air, and you say in your book, hey, you know, I didn't originate this sketch. I kind of stole this sketch with permission. But the famous Jeopardy bit.
Yes, Jeopardy sketch.
Where you played Burt Reynolds, and you say Will Ferrell was key to that sketch because he played such a great Jeopardy host.
Yes.
But that thing was one of the most popular sketches, and you pitched that, but you admit in your memoir that, hey, that's something I got from SCTV.
Yeah.
And I waited till Martin Short was a guest on the show, and I pitched it and said, can we do the Jeopardy thing?
Yeah. They did a sketch on SCTV when I was a child called Halfwits, and it was, Alex Trebek was in the sketch because he was a Canadian. And it was... it was just these kids. It was when two schools would fight each other, and so it was real stupid. So I always loved that show, and I said, Celebrity Jeopardy, they always ask such easy questions, and the celebrities are all so stupid. It would be great to do it. Unfortunately, they've already done it, and I feel like I shouldn't just steal a sketch.
Right.
So when Mr. Short came to do the show, who later became my friend, I said, who wrote that sketch? And he said, Eugene Levy. And I said, maybe we could phone him, and
get permission.
And so he said, yeah, we'll do a conference call. And I said, no, I'll phone, I'm a man,
Yeah.
So I phoned Eugene Levy, and I asked him, I told him the whole sketch. I said how much I loved the first one, and I asked permission, and he was kind enough to give it to me.
There was no better show than SCTV. That was unbelievable,
God,
right?
It was amazing. Unbelievable.
Why does Turd Ferguson? Why does Burt Reynolds hate Alex Trebek?
What's funny is I wrote that sketch because on Saturday Night Live you have to do impressions once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do impressions, But I do like 4 or 5 guys from when I was a kid that I liked, Like Letterman I liked, so I could do an impression of him. And when I was a little kid, Burt Reynolds used to be on The Tonight Show, and he was like the funniest guy ever. So I wanted to do Burt Reynolds, but I couldn't figure out how to put him in anything.
Right.
And so I wrote the sketch Celebrity Jeopardy so I could do my Burt Reynolds. And then when it comes time to tape it, like Lauren... told Costume to have a white hair for me and a white beard, and I'm like, no, Lauren, I don't do Burt Reynolds. I do Burt Reynolds from the 1970s from Smokey and the Bandit.
Because that didn't make sense either.
Nobody
knew why. Why is it Why was it 70s?
I know, it made no sense. But it's funny, like you said, Turd Ferguson, because on one of them I go, Burt Reynolds goes, that's not my name, to Alex Trebek, and he forces himself to be called Turd Ferguson. He forces Alex Trebek to call him Turd Ferguson.
Right.
So anyway, somehow that caught on with some people. So still to this day, like sometimes I'll be walking down the street and the guy will go, "Hey, Turd!" And then I go, "Thank you," and then everyone else goes, "What?
What is going on?
What kind of universe is this?"
He was the same guy who told me I wanted Burt Reynolds on the show, and he was like, "Oh, you don't want him. He's crazy." And I'm like, "No, I don't want you. I want him." Like, I kind of wanted a crazy guy, which is what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about.
Oh yeah, Burt
was this
Reynolds,
notion of crazy? Yeah,
Burt Reynolds.
But he's
I remember
funny.
one time he
was
caught his hair on fire when he was over
on the lot.
Yeah, he was he came over and he had caught his hair on fire. I don't know how. Like, we're like, "Oh, you better go to the doctor. You've got a big friggin' hole in your scalp."
Because Roseanne's show was on the Radford,
right
along
behind.
with Seinfeld and Evening Shade. And I remember hearing a story, all his stories about Burt. And he'd go on his hiatus, he'd go away and hire people for the show. And then people would show up, quit their job, in whatever bar he just found them in.
That's great.
And they'd come and go, "We're ready to work." And he'd go, "What?" And they'd just pay him off. And the guy'd have to go home. But can you imagine that? Like you're in your little town and Burt Reynolds shows up at your candy store and offers you a job.
That's kind of, what was he thinking?
I don't know. But I think he had some, you were talking about you had OCD. He must have had some crazy stuff. Hey, you worked with Burt Reynolds.
Yes, I did work
on the TV show. Right?
Yeah, on Evening Shade, yeah.
Do you have any crazy Burt Reynolds stories?
No, not really, because, Burt, Burt had some wild times and everything. For some reason, he kind of took me under his wing, and he always liked me, and he actually helped me a lot in the beginning. And he was Harry Thomason and Linda Bloodworth Thomason, who ran that show, and another show I was on with them. Them and Burt are real big. Were real big helps to me, early on. And he was always really good to me. He did hit me one time live in front of an audience, and I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't say my lines.
Slap?
He hit me with an open hand, but in the lung, and he's got arms like Popeye, his big forearms. And in the thing, I'm supposed to hit him. I'm supposed to slap him on the back and say something which pisses him off or whatever. And I come out there before the live audience, and when we rehearsed it, he said, "I'm an old stunt man, so hit me as hard as you can." And I guess I hit him really hard because his natural reaction, I guess, was to hit me in the lung, and I couldn't talk, and they had to sort of suspend the big show for a few minutes while I got my breath back. But other than that, yeah, he was always really good to me.
I always try to get him. Like whenever I had anything, I go get Burt Reynolds. Like he'd be the coolest. And then people go, "No, you don't want to work with him. He's crazy." And then I go, "No, I do want to work with him. I don't want to fucking work with you." like crazy seems like such a dismissive. Don't you think like people have been denied work and shit just because people go, "That guy's crazy"?
Yeah.
And it has no meaning to it really.
Yeah.
It usually means creative to me or something.
That's right.
Or he's difficult. Who wants to work with some fucking simpleton?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I met Burt Reynolds though, which was an amazing.
Was he pissed? Because he doesn't have a big sense of humor, does he?
You know what Burt Reynolds loves to do is slap you in the face really hard.
Yeah, he's like one of those masculine guys. He's punching you,
But no, he was real nice to me, and
did he slap you?
He told me really funny stories. He told me he was in Deliverance, which I loved. He said, I used to do my own gags. Gags, I guess, are like stunts. He was a stunt man.
Yeah.
And so he said, they had this gag, and where I went over a waterfall.
And what,
so
a
I
car
said,
or something?
No, he just fell. This was
he just falls off a waterfall.
Bandit. This was like Deliverance. They were in the middle of
right.
So he says, "I'll do the fall. We don't need a stuntman." Frankenheimer says, "No, we need a stuntman." He goes, "Nah, we don't want that." He goes, "Okay, well, we'll just use a dummy. We'll just throw a dummy over, you know?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "No." So Frankenheimer's idea was just to throw a dummy over, and Burt Reynolds said, "No, absolutely, I'm going to do it myself." So Burt Reynolds says he does it, and he said he did. He said some term I'm not familiar with. I do a half bike or something like that. He said his shoulder immediately hit a rock, then his head hit another rock. And then he said the next thing he remembers, he's way downstream, all his clothes had been torn off him. And he looked up and he was just like in shock, right? The next thing he remembers, he's waking up in a hospital. Yeah. John Frankenheimer is at his bedside. And he goes, then I said to John, how'd it look, on the daily? And John Frankenheimer said it looked like a dummy falling off a platform. So that made me laugh.
So he does have a good sense of humor.
He has a very good sense of humor.
And did Burt smack you around a couple of times just to show you where it was at?
So what was the first sketch that you ever got on, or what was the first written material that you ever got on the show?
I wrote a sketch for the first show because Burt Reynolds had just was on Larry King Live and was kind of famous at the time because he was in a contentious divorce with Lonnie Anderson, and he was wearing this crazy purple suit on Larry King Live, and he announced, "I will, Lonnie Anderson is lying, and I will get her on this show with you, Larry, and we'll both take truth serum." And I was like, "Truth serum? What? Is that even a real thing?" So it was so funny. And then so I wrote a sketch where they both drank like from beakers of truth serum, And Lauren did not care for it. It opened the show, It was like a big hit at the table. What's his name did Burt Reynolds? Phil Hartman. Oh, wow. It was Phil Hartman and Jan Hooks. And it just... the next week, Lauren pointed to it as the example of what we should not be doing on the show. He said it was just he calls things Carol Burnettish, which is the ultimate insult. He said it was just the most Carol Burnettish type of sketch. But I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know. And he let me do it. It got all the way to the air. He chose it, and he put it on first. Not my fault.
I know the end is day. Nobody's gonna change. You won't ever leave. On my mind again. I'm still not tired of it. Can make you want me. And I might act okay. Say things will stay the same. Say them all.
I love the Burt Reynolds impression you do. So a bit about A, like the genesis of it. B, has Burt, have you met Burt? Has he commented? And just while I have this, over the 41 years of SNL, I'm wondering, besides Farley, going back to day one, who are the players that really you most admire and maybe shaped you?
Well, when I was a kid, I liked, my favorite was Dan Aykroyd about 9 Miles. And I always wondered why Chevy was the star, because I thought, God damn, Dan Aykroyd can do anybody, and he's so funny and stuff. And the reason I want to do Burt Reynolds, because I loved him when I was a kid. I don't really do impressions, but guys who I really like, I can do. And guys that are funny, it's kind of a cheat, but you do an impression of them, and then you're funny because they're funny. Do you know what I mean? So I always used to watch him on the Tonight Show, and I said, I got to give him a sketch. So then I stole this sketch called Halfwits from Second City, and I turned that into Celebrity Jeopardy, and I felt really bad for stealing the sketch. And so I waited until Martin Short was coming on. And I said, Martin, can I do this sketch? I stole it from Halfwits. And then he said, oh, I didn't write it. Eugene Levy wrote it. And I had to phone Eugene Levy and ask him. And he was a gentleman about it and said that I could do it. But then when I did it, Lauren picks out the wardrobe. He had this gray hair and gray beard and stuff. And I was like, no, I want to play it like from the 70s. It's kind of odd, but And all the time I did it, nobody ever commented. And the three celebrities, one of them was from 50 years ago. Oh, Bert, yeah, no, I met him, and goddamn, that guy was funny. He just told me the funniest stories. And yeah, he said he wanted to, this is a story to him. He said, you know, he get all these girls when he was young, you know, he was so handsome and everything. He said one time he was in a hotel, and there's this beautiful blonde, and she said, like, just come up to my room, you know, I have a lot of sex. So he goes up to her room, and they're kissing on the bed and stuff. And then he said she whispered in his ear, and she said, I'll be right back. I have to take a dump. So she ran away. Most of us would run away, but he could just get the next girl to dance.
There was only one man in town who could make people afraid of him even from beyond the grave. And that man was Richard Chubby. Because with Big Chubby gone, there was only one person to take over the family business. His son, Little Chubby.
Back again, Burt Reynolds in a commanding lead with $14.
Hey, check out the podium. Look at this.
Mr. Reynolds has apparently changed his name to Turd Ferguson.
Yeah, that's right. Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
Norm and I were hanging out in his office one day playing a game where you had words and you had to do an impression of somebody saying the same sentence. And he did Burt Reynolds doing it, and we go, oh, well, there we go. So how can we get Burt Reynolds on TV?
And then one time I was talking to Burt Reynolds, and he said he wanted to come on the show while I was doing Celebrity Jeopardy, and then punch me in the face and take over, and then he'd be even stupider. But then I got fired, so he couldn't do it.
The sketch that you got on the air, and you say in your book, hey, you know, I didn't originate this sketch. I kind of stole this sketch with permission. But the famous Jeopardy bit.
Yes, Jeopardy sketch.
Where you play Burt Reynolds,
yes.
And you say Will Ferrell was key to that sketch because he played such a great Jeopardy host.
Yes.
But that thing was one of the most popular sketches, and you pitched that. But you admit in your memoir that, hey, that's something I got from SCTV.
Yeah.
And I waited till Martin Short was a guest on the show, and I pitched it and said, can we do the Jeopardy thing?
Yeah. They did a sketch on SCTV when I was a child called Halfwits, and it was, it even, Alex Trebek was in the sketch because he was a Canadian. And it was, you know, it was just these kids. It was, you know, when two schools would fight each other, and so it was real stupid. So I always loved that show, and I said, you know, Celebrity Jeopardy, they always ask such easy questions, and the celebrities are all so stupid. It would be great to do it. Unfortunately, they've already done it, and I feel like I shouldn't just steal a sketch.
Right.
So when Mr. Short came to do the show, who later became my friend, I said, who wrote that sketch? You know, and he said, Eugene Levy. And I said, maybe we could phone him, you know, and
get permission.
Get permission. And so he said, yeah, we'll do a conference call. And I said, no, I'll phone, you know. I'm a man, you know.
Yeah.
So I phoned Eugene Levy, and I asked him, I told him the whole sketch. I said how much I loved the first one, and I asked permission, and he was kind enough to give it to me.
There was no better show than that SCTV. That was unbelievable,
God,
right?
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Unbelievable.
Why does Turd Ferguson? Why does Burt Reynolds hate Alex Trebek?
You know what's funny is I wrote that sketch because on Saturday Night Live you have to do impressions once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do impressions, you know. But I do like 4 or 5 guys from when I was a kid that I liked, you know. Like Letterman I liked, so I could do an impression of him. And when I was a little kid, Burt Reynolds used to be on The Tonight Show, and he was like the funniest guy ever. So I wanted to do Burt Reynolds, but I couldn't figure out how to put him in anything.
Right.
And so I wrote the sketch Celebrity Jeopardy so I could do my Burt Reynolds. And then when it comes time to tape it, like Lauren told Costume to have a white hair for me and a white beard.
And I'm like, no, Lauren, I don't do Burt Reynolds. I do Burt Reynolds from the 1970s, from Smoking the Bandit.
Because that didn't make sense either. Nobody knew why. Why was it 70s?
I know, it made no sense. But it's funny, like you say, Turd Ferguson, because on one of them I go, Burt Reynolds goes, that's not my name, to Alex Trebek, and he forces himself to be called Turd Ferguson. He forces Alex Trebek to call him Turd Ferguson.
Right.
So anyway, somehow that caught on with some people. So still to this day, like sometimes I'll be walking down the street and a guy will go, "Hey, Turd!" And then I go, "Thank you," and then everyone else goes, "What?
What is going on?
What kind of universe is this?"
Hey, you worked with Burt Reynolds.
Yes, I did work
on
with
the
Burt Reynolds.
TV show. Right?
Yeah, on Evening Shade. Yeah.
Do you have any crazy Burt Reynolds stories?
He did hit me one time live in front of an audience, and I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't say my lines.
Slap?
He hit me with an open hand, but in the lung, and he's got arms like Popeye, those big forearms. And in the thing, I'm supposed to hit him. I'm supposed to slap him on the back and say something which pisses him off or whatever. And I come out there before the live audience, and when we rehearsed it, he said, "I'm an old stunt man, so hit me as hard as you can." And I guess I hit him really hard because his natural reaction, I guess, was to hit me in the lung, and I couldn't talk, and they had to sort of suspend the big show for a few minutes while I got my breath back.
I wanted Burt Reynolds on the show, and he was like, "Oh, you don't want him. He's crazy." And I'm like, "No, I don't want you. I want him." Like, I kind of wanted a crazy guy. Which is what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about.
Oh, yeah. Burt
was
Reynolds,
this notion of
he is
crazy. Yeah.
Burt Reynolds.
But he's
I remember
funny.
one time he
was
caught his
on
hair on fire when he was over.
On the lot.
Yeah, he was
Evening
he
Shade?
came over and he had caught his hair on fire. I don't know how. We're like, "Oh, you better go to the doctor. You've got a big friggin' hole in your scalp."
Because Roseanne's show was on the Radford,
right
along
behind.
with Seinfeld and Evening Shade. And I remember hearing a story, all his stories about Burt. And he would go on his hiatus, he'd go away and hire people for the show. And then people would show up, quit their job, in whatever bar he just found them in.
That's great.
And they'd come and go, "We're ready to work." And he'd go, "What?" And they'd just pay him off. And the guy'd have to go home. But can you imagine that? Like you're in your little town and Burt Reynolds shows up at your candy store and offers you a job.
That's kind of, what was he thinking?
I don't know. But I think he had some, you were talking about you had OCD. He must have had some crazy stuff.
I met Burt Reynolds, though, which was an amazing...
Was he pissed? Because he doesn't have a big sense of humor, does he?
You know what Burt Reynolds loves to do is slap you in the face really hard.
Yeah, he's like one of those masculine guys who's punching you.
But no, he was real nice to me. And
did he slap you?
He told me really funny stories. He told me he was in Deliverance, which I loved. He said, I used to do my own gags. Gags, I guess, are like stunts. He was a stunt man.
Yeah.
And so he said, they had this gag and where I went over waterfall.
And what, a car or something?
No, he just fell. This wasn't
he just falls off a waterfall.
Bandit. This was like Deliverance. They were in the middle of
right.
So he says, "I'll do the fall. We don't need a stuntman." Frankenheimer says, "No, we need a stuntman." He goes, "Nah, we don't want that." He goes, "Okay, well, we'll just use a dummy. We'll just throw a dummy over,
Yeah.
And he goes, "No." So Frankenheimer's idea was just to throw a dummy over, and Burt Reynolds said, "No, absolutely, I'm going to do it myself." So Burt Reynolds says he does it, and he said he did. He said some term I'm not familiar with. I do a half pike or something like that. He said his shoulder immediately hit a rock, then his head hit another rock.
Oh, God.
And then he said, the next thing you remember, he's way downstream. All his clothes had been torn off him. And he looked up and he was just like in shock, right? The next thing he remembers, he's waking up in a hospital. Yeah. John Frankenheimer is at his bedside. And he goes, then I said to John, how'd it look, on the daily? And John Frankenheimer said it looked like a dummy falling off a platform. So that made me laugh.
So he does have a good sense of humor.
He has a very good sense of humor.
And did Burt smack you around a couple of times just to show you where it was at?
So what was the first sketch that you ever got on, or what was the first written material that you ever got on the show?
I wrote a sketch for the first show. because Burt Reynolds had just was on Larry King Live and was kind of famous at the time that because he was in a contentious divorce with Lonnie Anderson, and he was wearing this crazy purple suit on Larry King Live, and he announced, "I will, Lonnie Anderson is lying, and I will get her on this show with you, Larry, and we'll both take truth serum." And I was like, truth serum? What? Is that even a real thing? So it was so funny. And then so I wrote a sketch where they both drank like from beakers of truth serum, And Lauren did not care for it. It opened the show, It was like a big hit at the table. What's his name did Burt Reynolds? Phil Hartman. It was Phil Hartman and Jan Hooks. And it just... the next week, Lauren pointed to it as the example of what we should not be doing on the show. He said it was just he calls things Carol Burnettish, which is the ultimate insult. He said it was just the most Carol Burnettish type of sketch. But I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know. And he let me do it. It got all the way to the air. He chose it, and he put it on first. Not my fault.
I love the Burt Reynolds impression you do. So a bit about A, like the genesis of it. B, has Burt, have you met Burt? Has he commented? And just while I have this, over the 41 years of SNL, I'm wondering, besides Farley, going back to day one, who are the players that really you most admire and maybe shaped anything?
Well, when I was a kid, I liked, my favorite was Dan Aykroyd by a million miles. And I always wondered why Chevy was the star, because I thought, God damn, Dan Aykroyd can do anybody, and he's so funny and stuff. And the reason I want to do Burt Reynolds, because I loved him when I was a kid. I don't really do impressions, but guys who I really like, I can do. And guys that are funny, it's kind of a cheat, but you do an impression of them, and then you're funny because they're funny. Do you know what I mean? So I always used to watch him on the Tonight Show, and then I said, I gotta give him a sketch. So then I stole this sketch called Halfwits from Second City, and I turned that into Celebrity Jeopardy, and I felt really bad for stealing the sketch. And so I waited until because Mark Short was coming on. And I said, Martin, can I do this sketch? I stole it from Halfwits. And then he said, oh, I didn't write it, Eugene Levy wrote it. And I had to phone Eugene Levy and ask him. And he was a gentleman about it and said that I could do it. But then when I did it, Lauren picks out the wardrobe. He had this gray hair and gray beard and stuff. And I was like, no, I want to play it from the 70s. It's kind of odd, but all the time I did it, nobody ever commented that the three celebrities, one of them was from 50 years ago. Oh, Burt, yeah, no, I met him, and goddamn, that guy was funny. He just told me the funniest stories. And yeah, he said he wanted to, this is a story he told me. He said, he kid all these girls when he was young, he was so handsome. He said one time he was in a hotel, and there's this beautiful blonde, and she said, just come up to my room, have a lot of sex. So he goes up to her room, and they're kissing on the bed and stuff, and then he said she whispered in his ear, and she said, I'll be right back. I have to take a dump. So she ran away. Most of us would run away, but he could just get the next girl and
this kind of backlash happens so fast now because of social media, and Adam, I know you've been involved with the Comedy Store for a long time, but when Louis jumped up at the Comedy Cellar the other night, a couple weeks ago, the Cellar's taken a lot of heat from people who were not necessarily customers.
Right.
People
Yeah.
on, the other side of the country or whatever. And we didn't, we never had that kind of thing happen before.
No.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I did not know this, and maybe you do. Comedians have gone up against Louis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking to some
comedians have said this guy should not be able to ever perform again.
Yeah, I mean, I taught, they all come.
If you're a murderer, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go.
sorry. I'm sorry. But if you're a murderer, you go to jail and they let you off, 20 years later. And you try to get a job as a busboy. And if the guy says, I'm not hiring that guy, he murdered, and you go, but he did his penance, and now you give him a job. That's the humane thing to do. And people go, well, what about the murdered person? And you go, well, of course, he got worse.
Yeah.
The guy that lost his life, he's doing worse. But it doesn't mean you can't forgive or it's impossible to forgive. I also don't feel anyone owes me an apology in public. I think personally that you owe an apology to anybody that you did ill to. You owe an apology to people that your actions hurt in a financial way or an emotional way. But nobody owes me an apology,
So that's where your shock about comedians comes from.
Yeah, because I don't understand why they're so. I guess I just don't understand how there can be no rules. If the rules are drawn out and set down, then that's one thing. But I always thought the audience would decide whether you're an objectionable comic or even a good comic. And so Louis went up here at the Comedy Cellar, and the audience let him know. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, but if the audience don't like him, then the club won't book him. I mean, that's how things work. And just because your heart can break for more than one person at the same time, and a person can do a bad thing and you can feel sorry for that person while feeling worse for the person that had the bad thing done to them. This is all so self-evident. It's hard for me to unpack, but I wanted to use the word unpack.
Well, we also always think of comedians being 100% free speech and stuff like that. And I don't know whether you followed this at the New Yorker Festival, but they had Steve Bannon booked to come in and do an interview, and all the big comedians said, I'm not going to be there if somebody interviews Steve Bannon. And it wasn't a thing of, hey, we're giving an award to Steve Bannon, but it was a chance for somebody from the New Yorker to interview him, and who knows what direction that would have went into. But people like Judd Apatow and I'm trying to think of who, Patton Oswalt I know was in it, and even Jimmy Fallon, they all said, well, we won't perform. We won't come and do the panel. And I'm always surprised by that angle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel, my brother's a foreign correspondent, and he did a 4-year documentary on neo-Nazis, and he interviewed all of the neo-Nazis in the world, from the Ernst Zundel all the way up to David Irving, and he didn't become a Nazi, at all.
Right.
And so I think people go, you know, I certainly wouldn't be a Nazi by hearing this, but Americans, you know, other than me, Americans are just people that will believe whatever they hear, and I think that's nonsense, you know. I think that if there was a Nazi, a person could go watch him because it seems like an entertaining thing, you know. Just the same way you listen to a guy screaming on the corner of the street. You stop and listen to him.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I would agree with you, except for I learned from your show that Adam was in a cult for 3 years. So I guess some people are easily molded.
I just want to stress it was not a Nazi cult.
You know, these cult leaders, they have a good gig going.
Yeah, yeah.
And they all fall for the same trap, which is they start fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And if you just,
not in that cult either.
you know, you have a good life.
Yeah.
People show up, they give you all your worldly
everything.
goods. You got all the money, and then you start having sex with the ladies. Then, drunk with power, you're not even gay. You start having sex with the men as well, and you know, and then people go, "Hey, I was watching Fred fuck your wife the other day, and I was thinking, any chance he's not Jesus?" You know, when I was asked to host the Canadian Screen Awards, I called my good friend Chris Rock, and I said to him, "I've got some great news, Chris. I'm going to Canada." And he said, "I've got some great news, too. I'm hosting the Oscars. What are you doing in Canada?" And I said, "You know, visiting some family, friends." The usual. Chris is very presentational, you know, and Chris talks about racial things, and
one person does something, they get canceled. Somebody else does the exact same thing, nothing. You know what I'm talking about. You know, like the kind of people that play Michael Jackson songs, but won't play R. Kelly. Same crime. One of them just got better songs.
See, there was a number of artists and people who, so for instance, Gary Glitter was caught doing inappropriate things, and his music career, you know, rightly sort of ended almost overnight.
Maybe.
If it had been T-Rex who had committed those crimes, I still think.
No, it's because I have a theory. It's to do with the quality of the music.
Yeah.
See, with Jacko, we didn't wipe Jacko out from history because we didn't want to go to weddings and not have Billie Jean.
Exactly.
So it's sort of, if the music was better in the case of Glitter, I think we'd have all. I mean, it felt like the entire world sort of turned their back on the Jacko accusations, right, and just said, well, anything. He didn't start doing this pre-dangerous. So we can listen to everything.
Know the end is day, nobody's gonna change. You won't ever leave. On my mind again, I'm still not tired of it. Can make you want me. And I might act okay, say things will stay the same. Say them all.
Right, Robert Kardashian helped to free O.J. Simpson, a black football playing murderer. Woo! O.J. Simpson killed 2 white people and got away with it. That's another kind of black excellence.
During a recent interview on 2020, longtime O.J. Simpson friend Robert Kardashian said he now believes Simpson may be guilty. Though he did add that had he believed O.J. was guilty at the time, he never would have agreed to hide his bloody clothes and knife. At his civil trial in Los Angeles this week, O.J. Simpson attorneys began their case with an attack on Nicole Brown Simpson's character. Outraged Brown family lawyers responded, quote, "Nicole is a victim. No matter what she did, she certainly did not cut her own throat." To which Simpson's attorneys replied, "On the contrary, that is precisely what we intend to prove." A down-and-out O.J. Simpson, depressed that all of his money-making ideas have failed, has decided to go back to doing what he does best, killing people.
Did you ever, what about these comedians that have some goddamn horrible affliction and then come up and talk to you? You ever have that happen to you?
On stage or in life?
No, off stage. So some multiple sclerosis or muscular dystrophy, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they roll over to you and makes you feel
not easy.
Uncomfortable, and it hurts timing.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a thing, huh? But when you get a guy close to you like that.
Yeah. I don't excel in those type situations.
No.
And I feel very bad about myself.
Sure.
Maybe more than any other time is when I'm dealing with someone with an affliction, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed. If you're walking down the sidewalk and there's somebody coming the other way in a wheelchair,
yeah.
Do you have a look, or do you no, I'm going to act normal. I'm sure he wants me to act normal. What do you do?
Well, I look at the guy and I hope to God my face isn't making all kinds of twitches.
I like to hedge my bets. I don't want to ignore him, so I'll look at him, but I'll like scowl or something.
Really?
You know?
It's the same joke.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Can't do the same joke twice. Yeah, that's a comedy rule right there. Just shattered.
Like I saw a one-woman show once by a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And,
just one?
Yeah, only one. And she was like, "Well, my mother had breast cancer, and now I have breast cancer." And I'm like, well, it's everybody. Like, they think it's so special when everyone gets cancer and dies. Like, that's not
great. What if we just ended the podcast?
But it's almost like the height of narcissism to think that you're going to you're going to be so brave as to talk about it in person,
right?
Whereas all you're doing is just garnering sympathy for yourself.
Well, I guess that's true.
How's that brave? It seems cowardly to me. It seems much braver to me. Like, I remember Richard Farnsworth was an old character actor, and he did a David Lynch movie called The Straight Story, and riddled with cancer, his last movie, and very frail. And it's a fantastic movie if you ever get a chance to see it. It's not a style, because I'm not really that big a fan of what's his name?
David Lynch?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of it. I don't understand weird stuff. I'm like, huh, what? But this one is a straight ahead story. You think. I call it like a hard G. It's G rated.
Okay. It's hard G.
I call it hard G. Because the second time I watched it, I'm like, whoa, I understand it all of a sudden. Well, you got to see this movie.
Okay.
And if you watch it closely, there's like hellish things going on underneath the surface of what looks like a quaint story. It's based on a guy who, in actual real life, drove his riding lawnmower across the state to visit his brother who was dying. So anyways, the point of it is that Richard Farnsworth was nominated for an Academy Award for the movie. And if he had said he was filled with cancer, he would have won for sure.
Sure.
But instead, he didn't say it. And in fact, no one knew it. His family didn't know it. He kept it from everyone. And then he was a stuntman before he was an actor. He did what they call a stuntman's death, which is you put a shotgun in your mouth and with your toe you pull the trigger and blow your head off.
Oh my God.
And so
That to me is courageous. Like, you're not being a burden to your family. You know, they know nothing about it, and then you're gone.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then tow in the shotgun.
Yeah, and you know, they write him. He wrote a nice letter to everybody, you know, in the family, and said that, you know, he didn't want to. The reason he did it is he didn't want to cause people distress. So I thought, wow, how incredible! Like, how many
to just
people
go through
could
it
do
alone.
that? Yeah.
So you don't think
you go through it alone?
You don't think you would write confessional? Like, you didn't talk about any of the gambling stuff in your stand-up, did you? Like, was that
stand-up? No, never. I never talked about me, really. You know, I talked about universal me. You know what I mean?
Right.
That I was afraid of death, or that you know, that kind of thing, which is this was something that everybody is afraid of. You know, and so things like that. That it was me, but it was everybody.
Sure.
I wasn't pretending that it was a specific ailment that I had. And if I had a specific ailment, and possibly I do, you don't know.
I don't know.
But I would not talk about it. I would not. I hope that I would not discuss it, and just try to benefit monetarily.
Is it really my fault? 'Cause you try to hit me with your pity till I can't trust, but I still push on. Got me changing my ways, trying to fit poison my.
I also loved that I found out that he died after he died, because to me, show business, we're here for you. You're not here for us. Now, I'm not judging anybody, but there are people who, you know, whatever they're going through, they share it with the audience. Sometimes the audience loves that. I've never been in that camp. I'm not here to burden you. I'm here to lighten your burden. So the fact that Norm, I didn't know about this, nobody knew about this. Good one, Norm.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned, you know, but like, you tell me, because you're a gay guy. But I go into a gym. I go into workout. You know what I mean? I want to work out and I want to get my pecs and lats and shit like that, right? You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But then I go into the locker room. Now, the last thing I want to see there is some guy's fucking hot, beautiful asshole.
But anyways, I went to my trainer. Oh, God. I don't work out. I'm a weak man. You know that, Dennis.
Well, listen, you and I were on the Mount Olympus of weakness.
And not just physically.
No, in every way.
In every single way. So I told the guy that, and he said he couldn't do anything except for the physical part. But I don't know if he was the best trainer anyway. He was smoking a butt the whole time.
No, that's not good.
That's just a joke. He was a big guy. And but I told him, I said, look, I don't want be big like you. You know, I don't want veins. I have no use for that in my arms, you know, or abs. I don't want abs. I don't even know quite what they are. All I know is they were invented around the 80s. And I don't even know what you do when you get them. You know what I mean? Because you got to wear a shirt. You know. You just go to work and go, hey, you want to see these things on my belly? Everybody's like, no. But so I told the guy, I said that I'm here for one reason and one reason only. I want to have one hot ass. But this guy explained to me, it was horrible. First he puts me on a treadmill, and they really should give that a better name too, a treadmill. You know, it's so, and it's exactly what it is. You're just you just
yeah, you're like a beast of burden at that point.
Yeah, just trudging. You get real tired and you go nowhere. You know, I get enough of that in my real life. You know,
me too.
Yeah, sure. Then he puts me on one of those weight machines, you know.
Yeah. Which weight machine exactly? Free weights or some sort of?
No, it's a real modern gym.
Oh, I see.
With the machines, I can't explain all of this because I've only been.
It's just your first day, right? Mm-hmm.
But it was a thing where I had to push up, you know, real hard with my arms, you know, these weights, plates, you know.
Who needs it?
And so I hit the wall after about 1. Right? And the guy wanted me to do 20. You know, so he's like, "You can do it, you can do it," you know. So I proved him wrong. So my arm hurts. That's the long and the short of it, Dennis, is that my arm hurts. So I'm not.
Why only one? Why only one arm?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. But it's the back. It's not the bicep. You know.
No.
It's the opposite one.
Mm-hmm.
And as they said in the Friends of Eddie Coyle, it hurts like a bastard.
Now, do you feel comfortable jumping into the common shower after a workout at a health club, Norman? Is that something you'd be comfortable with, or no?
No. You know,
No.
Listen, if I go to a gym, I go to a gym to work out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I don't like that thing where you go into the thing and everybody's naked, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I go there, I just want to get in, towel off, and go out. You know, the last thing I want to do is stare at some guy's beautiful ass for 20 minutes, you know?
We've got a theme here today.
I know,
Some sense
it is leaning heavily on that word.
There's a narrative. There's a through line.
You know what I mean? Like, I go there, I do the curls, I do this thing here.
Literally do
that gets the chest, and I go like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the fucking locker room hiding behind a fucking thing, staring at the guy's beautiful balls from behind. You know what I mean? I got no time for that shit. I went to Brokeback Mountain, and I thought it was a Western. Fucking tell me it's a Western. No, I'm not. Watching it, and I'm like, where's the guy? I want to see a guy with a white hat and a guy with a black hat, and I want to see them shooting each other up in front of the saloon, you know? Last thing I want to see is a close-up of a beautiful hot cock slipping into an asshole. Now, they didn't show that in the movie, but why not? If they're going to make a movie, make it right.
It's nobody's business but ours.
It's a one-shot thing we got going on here.
You know, it could be like this always.
So I want to be in the back cheering, go, go, Sheriff. You'll get the fucking townsfolk behind you. You know, when it really comes down to it, I don't want to be fucking whacking off on some fucking guy in front of me and come all over him, and then he's got to come all over him, and then he's yelling, and then who's the homophobe, right? This guy is so fucking unsure of his sexuality. He's mad at me because I jizzed all over his face.
I'm excited. I'm single. Get out there and get some new ass. You know what I'm saying? Huh? You done ran the other ass in the ground, right? I don't want to talk about my wife like that. You ran that ass in the ground and you're moving on, right? Well, I didn't run any. We had a nice marriage for 2 years. No, you ran that ass in the ground. I don't run people's ass in the ground. All men do.
It's not a negative thing to run an ass in the ground. That's all.
You ran that shit in the ground like a rental car.
Great clip. That's Super Davis, Marty Funkhauser on Curb Your Enthusiasm. What's happening with Curb Your Enthusiasm? They left for a year to do a movie?
Yeah.
That sounds odd.
I know it is odd, but...
Is that going to work?
I don't know. I hope we come back. I love that show so much, and people love it.
Oh, it's a great show.
How about the Palestinian chicken episode?
That was hilarious.
Was that the greatest?
That was the greatest.
When I'm sitting down there with that hubcap yarmulke on,
yeah,
and she's screaming anti-Semitic shit, and then he comes down like a
lord.
While
she's having sex.
Yes, and then he comes down and introduces her to me. Yeah. Martin, this is Martin. Oh, right.
And then, of course, Larry
Tap it a few times.
David went on to do his own show.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, Larry David goes on, he does Curb Your Enthusiasm, and what do you think of that?
I love it. It's great.
And how is it different than Seinfeld?
Well, it's a whole, he created another place. Mm-hmm. What sometimes we call the good universe. He's got the good universe. Mm-hmm. You know, when Larry's show comes on, you're like, yeah, I like this place. I want to be there. It's like the mansion in Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, but I asked you to lunch, so...
You can't just grab the check if someone has the check, Larry.
That is absurdly
Rosie,
rude.
I asked you to lunch.
No, it's
Look, this is my pleasure.
No, it's
What are you
not. It's
doing?
my pleasure,
It's my pleasure.
Larry.
No.
It's my son.
Give me the check, Rosie.
Don't you be absurd.
This is Kelsey.
Oh, my
We just got her 6 months ago. Larry, Kelsey,
Six
Kelsey,
months?
Larry.
Yeah. Now, Larry, I don't know this, but they say it's improvisational.
Yeah.
So why not just write it out and why just make it up?
Well, when you have Larry on the show, I think this is a great line of questioning.
And don't you think Larry comes in with some jokes in his head? Is it all improvised and from Larry?
Well, I think he knows what the scene's about.
Yeah.
Why it's a funny scene.
Yeah.
And that is 90% of good sitcom writing is why are we even doing the scene? If you can answer that question with a funny sentence, you're on the right track. If the answer is, well, so he can meet the mother-in-law and then find out, no, that's not funny. But we learned over the years, if you can answer that question, why are they in this bowling alley? What's the reason? It better be something funny. And then the jokes will sit on that. But if it's, well, it'll be funny when, no.
Is it really my fault? 'Cause you try to hit me with your pity till I can't trust, but I still push on. Got me changing my ways, trying to fix it. Poison my.
What is your best joke?
I mean, the punchline is
It's all right.
cunt is in the sink.
It's okay. That's the joke.
That's all I know. That's all I got.
You just wrecked.
4 people are sitting on a park bench.
That's nice.
P.S. Your cunt is in the sink.
Okay, you told your joke. Let's go.
How good is that?
It surprised me. It surprised me. I had no idea it would be that revolting.